Well, the top issue at the summit will be the world's dependence on fossil fuels. The fuels are the main cause of greenhouse gases linked to global warming.
Climate change is expected to put many Asian cities at risk of coastal flooding, with millions of lives at stake. The UN has taken aim at the region's growing use of coal amid fears it could derail Paris climate goals.
Glistening and sparkling coal, dubbed black gold. Jackhammered out from the bowels of planet Earth, the product of peat compacted under pressure for thousands and millions of years. Now the United Nations wants to pressure Asia to curb its use. Asia is said to have been the first to use coal for fuel over 3,000 years ago. Archaeologists finding evidence of it in China, in a village in Xinjiang. Over the years, coal has fueled industrialization worldwide, firing up plants and machinery. But it's also earned a dirty reputation as the most polluting source of energy. Smoke and soot blamed for causing smog and health issues. Carbon emissions linked to climate change. Today, coal supplies a third of all energy used worldwide and is expected to remain significant in future. Something the United Nations chief labeled an addiction.
We still have large parts of the world with a coal addiction.
He took his message to Asia at the ASEAN summit, singling out the region, urging it to kick the habit.
And I'm particularly worried with the future impact of the high number of new coal power plants still projected in some parts of the world and including in several countries in East, South and Southeast Asia.
The Asia-Pacific is the biggest customer for coal, taking up 75% of global consumption, driving a rebound in the coal industry. China leads, accounting for half of the world's demand, followed by India and the rest of the region. Globally, demand is forecast to be stable until the year 2023. Asia's growing appetite offset by declines in the US and Europe. But it will not be China leading the charge as it turns increasingly away from coal, shifting to renewables for cleaner energy. Instead, India and Southeast Asia will be at the forefront. Southeast Asia to chalk up the fastest growth in using coal at over 5% a year, fueled by economic and population growth, plus an abundance of cheap coal to meet energy needs soaring at twice the global average. Southeast Asia's demand for coal power will be driven mainly by two countries: Indonesia, where coal provides over half its energy, and Vietnam, 1/3 of its energy is from coal. Energy consultancy Wood Mackenzie says coal power will remain king in Southeast Asia, peaking in 2027 before slowing down, giving way to natural gas and renewables like solar and wind power. But don't tell that to Australia, the world's biggest coal exporter, with a staunch supporter in the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, who famously presented a chunk of the black rock in Parliament when he was Treasurer.
This is coal. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared.
The Treasurer knows the rule on crops.
It's coal.
Australia sells most of its coal to Asia, betting future business on new coal power stations in Southeast Asia. China too is betting on coal overseas, even as it cuts back at home, pumping billions into new coal plants along its mega Belt and Road project in Indonesia, Vietnam, Pakistan and Bangladesh. Chinese President Xi Jinping promised high standards for the project.
我们要坚持开放、绿色、廉洁理念。
China cites the use of so-called clean coal technology to filter out pollutants to keep emissions ultra low. But critics question if the technology will be deployed at all plants. With key Asian cities already grappling with air pollution linked to coal plants, will they and the rest of the region ultimately pay a high price for cheap coal power?